I understand the importance of fitting in, belonging, feeling like you do have a soundboard or a springboard. If I don't feel like I belong, I need to create something where I can fit into.
Personally, I have failed a lot. The biggest failure I ever experienced in my life was when I got into med school. But if I look back now, I'm not a failure.
Failure is just a stepping stone. It's not the end of the road. This is the fundamental part of any failure. You need to learn what the lesson was.
I want to ask you to support the work we're doing on this podcast. I want you to like this episode. I want you to share with your friends. And I also want you to subscribe to this channel. You're doing that will go a long way in helping us get more guests on this show to keep us going.
Welcome to Negotiation Secrets. This is your #1 podcast where we talk about all things negotiation. We talk about negotiation for salaries, for deals, but much more importantly, we talk about negotiation for the life that you want. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Esomeme, internal medicine physician, negotiation strategist. And today I have with me someone who is she's been very instrumental in my journey, but has no idea. Her name is Fari. I'll let her introduce herself, and then I'll tell you and how she's been instrumental in my journey. Welcome to the show, Fari.
Oh, thank you for that. I really didn't have actually any idea that I was instrumental. That's quite a powerful word. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm already feeling very warm and oh, yeah. This is going to be a lovely conversation.
Yeah, but it's true. So you've lived in Dubai for about 18 years. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, where shall I start and how long do we have? We can go on for hours about this.
Just a short introduction so they know you, what you do.
Sure.
Yes.
So, I mean, the easiest way I can explain what it is I do, I see myself as a creative impact. And I think everything that I've always done in my personal and professional life is somehow bring some level of motivation, inspiration, and connection to anything that I do. And my passion has always been bringing people together. Hence why I've got into, events has been my real driving force. It's become my business, and I've been able to find out who I really am through connecting with other people. And it's evolved. I mean, I've only been in Dubai for 18 years, but I've been involved in marketing and events and all of this for over 25 years. And that's really something where whenever anyone asks me, so what do you do? I'm like, okay, today I'll tell you which hat I'm wearing and what I'm interested in, because I have seen that my personal evolution has led into so many different aspects professionally. And that's why I've got so many initiatives that if you want to sit and ask, so I said, how long do you have? Because a simple conversation can go on for a long time. And I have understood that I'm understanding more about who I am. But at the core, I think it's about creating impact and connecting with people.
Yes. There's so many people who talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. Fari does. And I would describe her as a connector. I'll tell you why. So I moved to Dubai. I haven't been in Dubai for long. Like those of you who know my story, when I moved. But just meeting Fari, and she has no idea. Like I've had up to 5-6 people on my podcast just because I know her. There's some people, and there are people who do it effortlessly by just being authentic, by being genuine, and then bringing people to their ecosystem, and people just begin to connect around them. She's that kind of person.
Oh my God, do you want to be my PR agent? I love this.
But if your PR agent is not saying this, then you're doing a bad job, because that's really who you are.
Thank you.
I'm not kidding. I've been on podcasts in London because of you. I've had people all over on my podcast because of you, because I went to your event. So tell me about community building, because that's something you do at your core. It's obvious. It breathes out of all your pores. Everything you do is community, and it's not just for yourself. Because I was thinking, I'm like, okay, I've met Fari, and I'm like, but I haven't really done anything for her. She's never asked anything of me. She just creates an environment where people genuinely thrive.
Thank you. I mean, at the core of everything you said, I want to thank you for just you showing up. Look, and this is just pure heart to heart. I don't feel like I'm the one who's given you those opportunities. I've just created the platform and you've done the work. So I think you need to, as Snoop Dogg said, you need to thank yourself. You know what I mean? That's one of my favorite speeches. Where he's like, most of all, I like to thank me. You need to be thanking you.
I thank me, but I also thank you.
And I appreciate it. And this is what brings me joy and why I continue doing certain things that are community focused, because I understand the importance of fitting in, belonging, feeling like you do have a soundboard or a springboard, some level of connection with people. If you're in a different country and you're not familiar with it, and if you're feeling like, where do I go, who do I speak to, that's where I feel like we should come together. And Dubai is where I feel it's my second home. And I mean, to be honest with you, everywhere I've gone, I've somehow organically started to create some level of community. Here, I think I've created about 3 big communities where really bringing in different segments together. Okay. And we met through podcasting communities. So on that level, meeting such incredible content creators and, you know, people who want to really create an impact has been something that it's just, again, I've let it flow. I brought people that I thought would be interesting, inspiring to the platform, and then I've left it to you and everybody who attends to do the rest of the legwork. And the ones who do get the benefits, right? So I honestly feel like, as with everything, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make a drink.
You can't make it,
You have been coming to the events, you've been doing the work, you've gone down the alignment and figure out, okay, who do I want to interview? Who do I want to introduce? Who do I want to connect with? That's been you. And for me, I just feel like if we're able to, you know, bring people together, that will have an expansion and energy, and it just brings more and more opportunities, not only to me, but to a wider net. Yeah. And this is where I think the beauty is.
Yes. And so when you are starting a community, I know every community is different. The reason for bringing each community is different. So but before I ask this question, the question I was going to ask is, what guides you? Do you have like guiding principles? I want you to talk a little bit about the places you've lived, so people may get that context why you do what you do.
Sure.
You know.
Okay, so I mean, I've done a lot of introspective work to understand what has been my motivation towards creating communities. Yeah. And I've understood that I am Iranian by let's say, ancestry. I was born in Iran, and we left when I was pretty young. After the revolution happened in 1979, we left when I was about 8 years old. And I grew up in the UK. So I'm very thankful for my, childhood and growing up in the UK and understanding a different mindset. I always felt like I didn't belong. Right. And then as an adult, when I went back to Iran, I wanted to live there and see what it's like. So I was able to be there for 2 years. And even going back, it's my homeland. It's where I truly feel like I want to belong there, but I didn't feel a connection. Let me rephrase. I felt connected to the people and the land, but I didn't feel like I belonged. So that made me realize, if I don't feel like I belong, I need to create something where I can fit into. Right? And that's where I started to understand, if I feel like this, how many more people do? And I just realized that wherever I go, people start to share with me and connect, and whatever they are going through, as whether it's a success story or pain, we all have some level of understanding. Yeah. And I think as my life has evolved, I love to explore different cultures and different nationalities. And I've had the pleasure of living in Egypt. I've had the pleasure of living in Moscow. And I've always
lived 10 lives, Fari.
Yeah, I know. And I feel it. But it's made me... Yeah. That was very unexpected, by the way. That was not in my life plan. Neither was Egypt. But both of them, it just brought so much diversity to my own experience and to my evolution. Yeah. And I really do feel like it surprised me. With so many places, like you would go somewhere and thinking, oh, this is what I'm going to expect. And no, I think if you go with no expectations, you will be so pleasantly surprised. Yes. And that's what I learned from those experiences. And that's what I've kind of taken on board to see, if I do something and I have no real expectation, what magic can I create?
Yes. So I'm I was sort of kind of similar. Like I'm Nigerian originally, grew up in Nigeria, and then moved to the US. So when I was in the US, people asked me, where are you from? I say I'm from Nigeria, because that was like my last home.
Right.
And then I moved from the US to Dubai. Like all of my investments, most of my education was in the US.
Yeah.
So when people ask me, where are you from now? I'm like, I'm from the US.
Yeah.
But where do I really belong to? I can't really tell, because I haven't lived in Nigeria in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can really, really navigate there.
Right.
I don't live in the US. The US, even though I am American, it still felt like a second home to me. So it's kind of like, okay, so who am I?
Who are you? Yeah.
You know, where am I from? The whole evolution is just, that's the thing with immigration. When you move, you begin to, you know, they say you never drink from the same river twice, because water keeps flowing.
Exactly.
You know, so where is home? I'm still trying to figure that out. I've talked to people, and sometimes we're like, okay, home is within me.
That's a beautiful place to start. Yeah, home is, but I think it does expand.
It does expand.
And you need somewhere physical to connect with.
To keep you grounded.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. And so you've created multiple communities over time. So when you create communities, what guides you? Or does it just happen like, oh, there's so many like lost souls and you just bring them together, or you sit down, there's a process, or?
I would love to say I have a format and a process and a structure, but nothing in my life ever is structured. I kind of, like one of my ventures, I even called it zigzag events, because everything was, I was going this way and I was like, no, you need to go zig, and then there was a zag and there was more zigzag. And I'm like, I'm going to call this zigzag events. So it did just allow me to go with the flow, which has not been easy for me to grasp when I am. Look, by nature, I am very organized. I like to have things planned. I am very good at project management, which is why I gravitate towards, organizing events and everything. So I like structure. I like to have a format. But that debate within me in terms of how structured should I be and how go with the flow should I be. So I was able to find the bliss point between the two. And this is where I think the community work has allowed me to develop that element within myself, that I can pull together structures, but also let the flow come. So go where I feel organically like I want to be. That's why you'll never see a calendar of events for me. I don't do 12 months in advance of events, because I go with what do I feel like I want to do today? Like this month, what do I want to focus on? Who do I want to attract? And who do I want to meet? And literally, it could be somebody I met 2 days ago. I'm like, I'm going to do an event with you. So I'd love to have more structure. But I think going with the flow of it has become my structure.
I see what you mean.
That's one aspect of it. But I do feel like if you put yourselves in the right circles, you will organically and naturally find what it is you want to do. So I think my first community that I started back in the UK was literally straight out of university. I wanted to become this very, strong, powerful, professional. I had no idea what I'm doing. I just knew that I'm going to work, but I was like, I want to still have my fun. So what started off as bringing together young professionals was more of a social networking, but for professionals. So again, I didn't intentionally start it. It was just me and my friends having some social gatherings, and they told their friends, and it became a thing.
Yeah.
It just became something that I found myself in, like, leading, right? And that kind of just transpired into when I did come here. I started something small back in, I think it was 2012, 2013, way before they were ready, because back in the UK, we did a lot of speed networking.
Yeah.
And here, it was way too early. I started it, and people were like, why are you rushing us to talk? We don't want to talk in 2 minutes. We want 20 minutes. I said, speed. The essence of this concept is speed. It didn't work.
There is no speed in Arab
culture. It
does
not work, right? Now, fast forward to 2025, where I started a speed networking community. That's been my third community in Dubai. It's the right time. They understand it. They're ready for it.
The culture has evolved.
Exactly. And I think sometimes you might have a great idea, but it's just not the right time or the right place to launch it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean the idea is going to not work. It just means you have to be patient enough and see where or when the right timing is going to strike. So I kind of have just naturally found my connections and my niche, but I can't say that I focus only on this demographic, because I have built communities for entrepreneurs. I've built communities for content creators. I've built communities for expats. When I was in Moscow, it was a completely different community.
You've built communities for expats?
Yeah, so in Moscow, I went as a British expat living there, and I realized that there is an immense amount of great artisans. I mean, honestly, my eyes were open to a whole different level of warmth and hospitality, which I didn't expect in Russia.
Yeah.
But they really did open their arms and be like, come, let's learn together. And I started to learn the language. And I understood that there are so many great craftsmanship. And I mean, literally, the level of creativity, innovation, and let's say just interest to learn from one another in Russia, and especially in Moscow, was immense. And everywhere I would go, and I loved getting lost in the streets of Moscow, and it was very safe for me. I honestly was taking all those security announcements of, you should be careful, and I just went in it with an open heart, and I knew it's going to be okay. I never faced a single issue there, but I met with so many incredible people, and their art scene is thriving, their creativity, their need to, and their hunger to connect with people really inspired me. And I realized there are so many great artisans there. Why are the expats so nervous to connect? So I started to bring them together.
Oh, that's what you did.
That's what I started. Yeah. So the different expat communities were kind of just solo work, basically. They were creating solo communities.
Yeah.
And I started to kind of think, how can we bring this together? So within communities, create a greater community. And there we started to do more arts and crafts, and we did Christmas bazaars and all this kind of stuff.
And you're Muslim.
Yes. That's very correct. Look, this goes back to when I was in the UK, I went to a Catholic school. So I was the first and only for a good 5 years, the only non-Catholic person in the school. So at the end of the day, I think that's allowed me to embrace and respect so many different cultures, different religions, different perspectives. And that's where I learn, I thrive by being open. And I think that's wherever I go, if I see people are very closed off because of the fear of how will they be with me? Will they accept me? I always like to do something to allow people to feel like you don't need to have that level of anxiety or fear. Just go in with an open heart and see what happens. That's what I've always gone with. And I think the level of building a community has been inspired by wanting people to feel like they
belong
they have that home, that level of connection with people they probably would never have met.
Yes.
But if you allow yourself to open your mind and your heart, you'll be surprised who you can connect with.
You will be surprised, because who would have thought that you would go to Russia and then have that experience, right? And there are people who have gone to much more open countries and they've not even had the experience that you had. So it's just about the beauty of not having preconceived ideas, or even if you have them, just try to be more objective before you start to act on all your preconceived ideas.
Exactly. This is exactly it in a nutshell. I think there is a level where we need to allow ourselves to put down our barriers.
Yeah.
In anything you do, not just meeting people, but let's say you're starting a business. I've started multiple ventures, businesses. I've had to close some, and some worked, some didn't.
We're going to come back to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different conversation. I mean, one of the communities I actually was massively, it was one of my passion projects, was sharing failure stories for entrepreneurs. And that was because I just came off the back of a failed marriage, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had just started a consulting company, but it wasn't working. So I was like, oh my God, I failed at so many things. And I felt so much shame that I went to an event. They were openly talking about what they had messed up in their lives and their business. And I'm like, what am I missing here? So as a Persian, as a woman who lives in this region, being so comfortable to talk about what went wrong was very alien to me.
Yes.
But like I said, because I was open to explore that part, I started to realize, wow, this is very empowering. Why don't I start going to more of these? And I started attending. By the second event, I was like, no, I need to be part of this. So I came on board as on the franchise, and lo and behold, the universe had other plans. I wasn't supposed to plan it. I was supposed to actually host it and, present it and move forward with it. So I just feel like you go where you are needed.
Yes.
And what you need and what needs you.
Yeah, you need that alignment.
I want to invite you to my global virtual book club. So I started this book club with the intention to read much more in 2026. I had all these books which were really great, but I was not reading that much. But I decided that 2026 was a year for growth. And one of the fastest way to grow is through reading books. So I want to invite you to come join us. We are in a community called School. We have a book we read every month, and once a week we meet online for reflections. So I welcome you to join the group. Come join us. Let's grow together in 2026.
Perfect.
So I'll ask you a few questions about community building, and then we'll switch over to failure.
One of my favorite topics, ironically. Yeah.
So when you build a community, what things do you do to make it succeed? And then what things do you look out for? Like, how do you know? Because sometimes you need to be very observant and say, okay, this community, I need to stop this action now. If not, we're not going to thrive anymore. So first of all, how do you gather the people together, but how do you create that sense of connection that community thrives? And then what do you look out for to quickly squash before it begins to ruin the community?
These are really good questions. I think the first one is you need to be a good listener. Okay. I do feel like there are a lot of people who lead by their own agenda, and their ego gets the better of the situation. So I think I have an intention to start a community. Tick. Okay. What do I need to do that? I need to have a purpose. I need to understand, who am I going to do this for? Who is it going to serve? And that will automatically attract the right crowd. Right. You then have to see if it's working. Because for me, I can start by wanting to bring together content creators and podcasters, right? And then I will be like, okay, my idea is just to bring someone and share with you how they grew their channel. Okay. After 5-6 events, when you bring those kind of people together, what else do you want to share? Then I'm thinking, okay, we need to think outside the box here. So I have to understand, what do they want? What do they need? And then when your audience changes, you have to either decide, I'm going to go with the flow, or I'm going to stick to my guns, and the audience is going to go with where I need them to go. My purpose has always been listen to what the audience needs. Yeah. And that's probably why my communities have always just grown, because I haven't dictated what they should do. I've listened to what they want.
And then you provide that.
And I think that's the art of listening and receiving and being open to feedback. Because constructive feedback is not so easy to request or to receive. People have misunderstood how you should, share your feedback. They think, I don't like this as feedback. No, that's an opinion and a preference. I need to know, okay, you don't like it. What do you like? What would you like?
Why don't you
and
like
what's
it?
the reason you don't like it? Like, is it too long? Is it too short? Is it not hitting your... This more information is allowing me to do what I do the better every single time. Right? So I think from my side, I would suggest anyone who wants to start a community, first look at what is it you want to give back. So who do you want to serve? What is your intention? And please learn the art of listening. It's going to help you not only in creating a community, but generally in life. Anything. I mean, listening is part of communication, right?
Yes.
So I think these are elements, but I also feel, don't be led by what other people are doing so much. We are living in a very highly, comparison-led, community-focused, business-driven environment. And I don't think it's helping. I think you just need to figure out what it is you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't be swayed by other people, what they're doing. They might be excelling at what they're doing. That's fine. They might be doing some things that you are not aligned with. That's okay. You stay where you want to be. Feel flow and go where you want to go, but don't feel obliged to do what everyone else is doing.
Yes. That I strongly believe in. Even though I went to med school, which is one of the most competitive places you could ever be, I do not have a drop of competitiveness in me.
There you go.
I could see you do stuff. I could ask you. I can be inspired by you. I can be motivated by you. But my goal is not like, I want to beat Fari at that. No. It's like, I'll learn from you and then I'll keep it going, because we all have our different journeys. In 5 years, I might be in Moscow, right? And then I'm competing with someone who's supposed to be in Dubai for the next 20 years. That's just wrong. So that's why I don't waste my energy competing.
I do believe that healthy competition is good for everyone, right? I do find that, not to feel like you are going to be second best, but if you see that someone is doing something, I do believe in this. Like when I started doing events back in 2016, 17, the way I did them was I reached out to multiple speakers, and I gave each speaker 30 segments to come and do their mini masterclass, workshop, or whatever it was. And the focus at that point was, again, my audience was entrepreneurs and founders, and I wanted to bring coaches who were not getting the right recognition and the exposure for whatever they were doing. And I wanted to bring those two communities together, the coaches with founders. And I gave each one 30 minutes, and I asked them, please do not do any hard selling of whatever the hell it is you're selling, but just come and share. Give some level of value and impact and see who resonates with you. They will come and buy. There was a lot of kickback from the coaches because they were very hard sales kind of focused, right? Again, that wasn't being done, so they didn't know what, should I trust them? What is she talking about? Is there any substance to this? And I said, trust me, just go with it. And I will never forget one of the guys who, mashallah, he's doing amazing now. He's one of the biggest trainers in Saudi. He's literally training. He's just incredible what he's done. He was, no, Fari, I'm not going to do this. I have to do a hard sell and I have to do the unit. And I was like, listen, either you go with me or I'm not going to go ahead with this. And he said, okay, fine. Begrudgingly, he did it. By the end of it, he had 2 people signed up without even doing one single, you must buy from me. I said, listen, just do what you do. People will come to you. This is simple. And I had to not brainwash, but change their mindset. Even with coaches, they're so hard on what they did. That was the way I structured it. And people found, oh, that's working. Let's copy it. And they did. At the beginning, I was thinking, hold on, get creative, find your own process. But I think after a while, I realized, if someone is imitating what you're doing, take it as a compliment. It's kind of a double-edged sword because you feel like I've come up with this concept and you're too lazy to create your own. But I always say, like, if you do find something that's working, take it, but add your flavor. Add something that is unique. Innovate in some way. Don't just copy-paste it as a lazy way.
Stuff, right? It's my idea. It's me. And you can't beat me at being me.
Exactly. There's only one you.
There's only one me. So, and that's why I don't believe in competing, because I compete with myself. So today, maybe let's use running as an example. Today, I'm able to run for 30 minutes. And maybe there's somebody on the treadmill by my side. That person is running. They did 45 minutes. Good for you. I don't know if your father is Usain Bolt. And then I'm
good luck.
The next day, my goal is, okay, let me see how I can do 35 minutes. I could look at that person and say, oh, I like how his strides are going. I can say, okay, I'll learn that. But my goal is not to beat you. It's for me to keep getting better each and every day. And that has kept me very grounded. Even when I have friends who have achieved so much, I just keep running my race. And
That's it. I mean, it goes to the saying of, stay in your lane, which I think needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. It doesn't mean become lazy not to evolve and grow, but at least understand, like, this is what you're good at, this is what you excel in. And this is when I started to understand what was my ikigai, to understand what are the 4 quadrants that I need to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm destined to do, this is what I'm designed to do, this is what my qualities have all led me to do. Understanding that, you figure out, okay, it's not just a fluke that I'm so good at this. It's actually what I'm supposed to be doing. And I can turn it into a business. And because the world needs it, it can have scalability. When you understand this, you're not so worried about who's next to you or who's behind you.
Because you're running your own race.
You're running your own race.
But you've raised up a concept that I don't want to just let just pass by. You talked about ikigai. Can you talk more about that?
You're giving me goosebumps now. I did a workshop back in my coaching days on ikigai because I understood these 4 quadrants, and I've learned different things now in the last 2-3 years, where now they've narrowed it down to 3 quadrants. And just recently in 1 Billion Follower Summit, one of my absolute favorite let's say speakers and educators, Chris Do, he started to explain, look, you only really need 3. There's only 3 elements that you need to understand. I was like, well, he's kind of taken the 3 most important from Ikigai. And then he said, if you do these 3, you will find your money shot. Like, that's how you will make your money. And Ikigai basically is 4 quadrants to say what you're great at doing, what the world needs, what can you make money from doing, and what is your excellence? Like, what you enjoy and what you're good at might not be the same thing. What you can make money with and what the world needs might not be the same thing. So if you write down these 4 lists and then see where your bliss point is, it'll be that little, sweet spot in the middle. Now, that element for me, I wrote many things down. Because like I said, when you said, what do you do? I'm like, let me tell you. And I think over the years, it's expanded because I was actually camera shy. I wasn't comfortable on camera. I was always behind the scenes as an organizer, and I would always like tell people how you should be and be on stage and whatever. And it just so happened, like I said, I had an idea. The universe had a different plan for me. So I was busy organizing the event. When the MC and the host wasn't able to make it, they were stuck in Abu Dhabi, and they said, Fari, you need to do this. I'm like, excuse me now? I don't do this. No, I organize, you host. And that's the first day I had to pick up a mic. And since then...
You're amazing at it.
Thank you. But I didn't know. I was so scared.
So you were kind of pushed into it.
I was like so resistant to it. I avoided it at all costs. But from that day when I picked up the mic, I realized this is my new best friend.
Yeah.
I have a way where I can step into who I truly am.
Yeah.
And I had to break through those barriers within myself of I'm going to be judged. What have I got to say that's worth hearing? Am I able to actually even communicate? Is my expression good enough? Are people going to understand me? A whole bunch of stuff that I was holding in, judgment of myself. Once I broke through those, I started to realize, I actually really enjoy being on stage. And then lo and behold, podcasting started. And then I was like, I actually really enjoy being on camera. And then it just evolved. And I just have understood there are so many people who have a fantastically strong, powerful message. And their fear of being judged or not being good enough or being an imposter or having that imposter syndrome is stopping them from actually getting their message out there. And it's just happened. Like once I started doing my own podcast, some of the guests who were coming on my show were like, I've never done this before, but I'm not happy with this. I'm like, wait, you're with me.
Right.
I've been there. I know what you need. Let's go through it.
Yeah.
And then it just so happened that when I had clients who wanted me to produce their podcast, it was their first time. They're not comfortable. And they were like, okay, what do I do? How do I do this? They had an amazing message. They just needed the confidence.
Yes.
It's just evolved, right? So I think not everyone has that confidence to start with. But if you are able to work through whatever it is you need to do, you get to where you need to be.
Yes. And some people want to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. And you can be, I believe in excellence, but I don't believe in perfection.
Beautiful.
Right? So you're excellent. And my excellence today does not mean, what I would call excellent today, tomorrow would not be excellent for me because I would have evolved. So
Exactly.
That's higher. It. But every day I give my very possible best and I'm fine with that. Anyone can judge me all you want, but that was the best I had in me. Yeah. So that's it, right? I would feel bad if I was not giving my all.
Yeah.
But if it's my all, you can judge me.
I mean, that's very powerful learning in itself because I am a recovering perfectionist. And I still to this day have to tell myself consciously, no, it doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't have to.
Like I've launched websites where it's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just like, put it on there. And then I've gone back like 6 months later, 7 months. We need to change the branding. Okay.
Yes.
But I didn't stop it from launching because I was like, it has to be perfect. That was stopping me from doing so many things.
Yes.
And it was just a way of procrastinating because of fear.
It is a way of procrastinating.
It is. And it's fear-based.
It is fear-based.
What is it going to look like? Am I going to succeed? Am I going to be judged? A lot of fears come up. And if you just press play and it's really not done like to the best that it could be done, it was the best it could be at that moment.
Yes.
If you then bring a team on and they're even better, great. But you launch it.
You did. Because you
it.
can improve on what you already have. You can improve on what hasn't been out there.
That's why if I look back at the videos I did at the beginning, I set myself a challenge to be comfortable on camera, 21-day challenge. Oh my God. And I was like, should I remove this? I was like, no, that's how I started. Exactly.
So you can
I'm like, go back and see what the hell I looked like back then. I was like, it took me maybe over an hour to record a 1 minute video. And I was like, what is this? How are people doing this? This is ridiculous. But it got to a point where I didn't then need to read the script. I didn't even need a script. I can get to it. And before the 2 weeks were up, I was already like in flow.
Right.
And that's it. And I go back and I'm like, I didn't even realize I needed a microphone. You know what I mean? Like so basic. I just needed to get through my fear of camera.
Yeah.
That was it. The audio was the last thing on my mind. I just needed to make sure that I'm okay to be on camera and I don't overthink this. Because I'm, again, a recovering overthinker. I'm recovering a lot of things. But these things I had to work on.
Yes.
Right? So I now have understood, because I've gone through it, you can help people. I can help other people do it because I've literally been there.
So there are two concepts I want us to talk about, and then we will talk about failure. So you've had a podcast, and you also have, how many people do you have in your community of podcasters?
Over 1,000 now.
And they're from all over the world.
I mean, to be honest, we started it here in Dubai.
Yeah.
It's the first one within Dubai, within the UAE, within the region.
Yeah.
And I got asked the other day, I think it was back in December at the event, and I asked everybody at the community, what do you want for 2026? And when someone asked me the question, I said, I want to take this community global. So already we're there. We have people messaging us from internationally.
My friends in America are in the group.
Yeah, exactly. It's growing.
Yeah.
We didn't intend for that to happen.
Yeah.
It's just happening because people who are joining are realizing there is an impact. There is a value here. Let's tell more friends.
Yes.
And it's, like I said, organically, it just expands.
Yes.
So yes, we do have from outside of the UAE people who are joining, but predominantly all our events are done in person.
Yes.
And we've actually also, I tested the hybrid model. So I've done some virtual events as well. We've live streamed it. We've done so many different things just to test and see which formats are really what people want. But yeah, we're over 1,000 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what advice, because you've had podcasts, you've had your own podcast, you've helped people launch podcasts, you have a community. I don't know if there's any other community like this.
There is not. No, there is not. That's where I'm gonna say, you know what, Snoop? Yes, I thank me. Thank you so much.
You should thank you, and we thank you. You know, so if someone wants to launch, because I can speak, if someone says, hey, Dr. Gloria, I want to launch a podcast, I can speak from my experience, which is just one singular experience. Yeah. But you can speak from your experience, and you can speak from the experience of people who you've helped start their podcast. Yeah. You can speak to the experience of people who are also in your community. Yeah. So if someone wants to start a podcast, what advice would you give them?
You know, what the first thing I would say, it's very similar to starting anything. Like I said, if you want to start a community, you want to start a business, you want to start a podcast, what is your intention? And one of my favorite books is Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
I have a book club. We're reading that book this month.
Oh my God. You should be reading it like super quick. I could read that book in 2 days.
Yeah, but
it's so powerful.
It's a community of people, so we're doing it in a month.
Oh my goodness!
Reflections weekly.
Really, honestly, I want to know what your reflections are after you've had that group meeting, because for me it helped me shape why I do anything. And I'm a very curious person, so I ask questions, but I was asking the wrong kind of questions. So I started to understand if I ask more empowering questions, my answers will be way more enlightened and more aligned and allowing me to go with the flow of what I want rather than what I think I need to do.
Right.
So ask yourself why you want to start it. Like, what is your intention? What is the purpose of this podcast? And there's no shame in whatever that intention is. You want popularity? Be true to yourself. Thank you so much. Yeah. Because one of the main pillars is create an authentic line of communication, create authenticity in anything you do, especially when it's creating content and reaching a wider audience. Because if it's popularity, fame, or whatever success it is, that's fine.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you
own
want.
it.
Yeah, own it.
If you want money, if you want to financially benefit from it, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with
own
that.
it. Go with it. If you want to really create impact and inspire and motivate people, go with it. If you want to create leverage for your business, for your brand, whatever it is, understand what it is. And it could be multiple things.
Yes.
But you can't really know you've hit the success mark unless you know where you're going.
And if you don't know your why, then
you need to understand what is that level of success look like to you. You can only realize that once you know what it is you want to create and why you want to create it.
Yes.
So have your intention very clearly laid out. It could change, right? Like my podcast started because it was on the back of the community that I had for the failures in entrepreneurship. The platform only allowed 10 minutes per speaker. And I was like, no, 10 minutes? No, I need an hour with this person. So I said, let's do that hour conversation. Let's get it on camera. Let's put it out there. This is back in 2016 when podcasting was not huge, right? It really wasn't. And that was my first introduction into podcasting. To then understand, okay, I'm sharing stories from founders who have failed. Great. As it evolved, I started to realize, okay, we've kind of hit the limit in terms of how many failures we can talk about, because every failure will have the same kind of concept, but what they've learned is more the empowering element, right? So I modified it to not focus so much on failures itself. It's more founders and breakthroughs.
But you know what? Your why remained the same.
Thank you so much.
Your how and your what changed, but the why was the same.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is where I was able to see, like, do I feel aligned to this? Kind of, I'm done with that. I want to kind of pivot a little bit. And I think having the power and the courage to pivot will allow you to keep going along what is aligned to you.
Yeah.
And that's where I would always suggest keep it authentic. If it's not making sense to you, if it's not flowing with you, don't force it. Of course, look, if you have sponsors on board or whatever, you're going to have to make them understand why you're pivoting. But at the same time, I wanted to set another challenge for myself. And I said, I'm going to do this. But the first episode that I launch, even the first season that I do, I'm going to monetize it. And I had 0 subscribers. So like I set a challenge for myself to be on camera and to be confident. I set a challenge and I said, I'm going to monetize before 1 single subscriber. And I did it. So again, I go towards the concept of whatever everybody is doing, zigzag away from that. Do your own thing, try your own way. There is no set formula. I can tell you the steps. You can follow those steps, but you don't have to, right? You can follow and create your own path.
Right.
And I think if you know what your intention is, who your audience, you think your audience is going to be, because maybe your audience might be different.
Oh, because my audience has changed.
Thank you so much.
Because initially I was speaking to just women. And I had more men reaching out to me, asking me questions. And I'm like, all right, then I got to make it open to everybody.
There you go. I do believe the more open you are, the more wider audience you're going to reach.
Yeah.
I think if you want to be niche, right? But don't try to pigeonhole yourself by forcing it to happen.
If your niche is not asking for the information, then you're not going to move.
And I think this is where, again, you need to be open and flexible. That would be one of the parameters I would say in there. Have a structure, but go with the flow of things. And I do feel like some people are too rigid and they're not allowing that flow to happen. So they're not letting the content do what it's supposed to. Content is supposed to create impact for whoever is watching and listening.
It's not about
but also you're supposed to learn from that. So from every single episode, I was learning something, I was healing something within myself, because we were having very serious conversations about, for example, mental health, bankruptcy, betrayal, all of these things that we deal with as business owners, as founders, but very, very rarely do people talk about it. So for me, when I was listening, I was healing something within myself that I probably didn't even realize I had, right? Yeah. There were a lot of aha moments too. So I feel like content creators are there to share a message, but to also learn and evolve within you as a human. You are human. You need to learn and understand. You're having a conversation. You know, it's listen as well as share and expand the message. But I honestly believe, do it for the right reasons.
Yes.
Whatever those reasons are for you.
Yeah, be honest with your reason. So what I hear you say, for anyone who wants to start a podcast, they should know their why. Yeah. And they should not be ashamed of their why. Own your why, whatever it is, own it, and then have some structure. At the same time, be flexible. Yeah, and watch who are your favorite podcasters. Yeah, see what they're doing. Learn from them if you want to. See what is being done and try to see how you can do that and better maybe. Yes. But don't become lazy and just they did that, I'm going to follow. Bring your element into it. Make it you. Yeah. Otherwise, if you say someone's already done that topic, but it's not from your perspective. It's not with your contacts. It's not with your vibe and your flair. Yes. Bring your element into it. Yes. That's where you show individuality. Yes. Because I'm Christian, something I tell myself is that because in the gospel, I'm sure you know since you're Catholic, there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Yep. They were all saying the same story. Thank you so much. and to be honest with you, this might come a little bit controversial, but every religion has the same core principles, same elements of story, just told in different perspectives. Yes, so that's what this is going to sound very strange, but that's what podcasting is. I don't know. I can't believe we're actually having this conversation. Exactly. Religion is not the same as podcasting. Everyone is bringing their gospel out there. They have message out there. Yeah, there it is. I think we are all sharing what is unique to us. Yes. But at the core, we all have the same reason. We want to reach people. We want to leave an impact. We want to create a legacy. Yes. That's why you want to create what you want to do. But I just feel like people need to bring their individual element, and that's what's missing sometimes. It becomes very copycat, and that's where I'm thinking, guys, you need to get a little bit creative. Where is the creative element? Yeah, it's content creation. Please get creative. Yeah. This is where I would say, go and learn if you want to, how to be the best at your craft, really master your craft, but you don't need to do everything. No. You don't need to be the editor, the camera person. You can.
I mean, I know people who are very good at doing everything because that's what they enjoy, but might be saving costs, might be because they enjoy
Right.
it, but you don't have to.
You don't have to.
No.
Especially if you don't have the skill set for it.
And it will take you longer to do
Right.
anything if you're not great at it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where you need to delegate that to somebody else and see where you excel at and just focus on that.
Yes.
One of the fastest ways of building equity is through real estate investment. That has been my experience. If you're thinking of investing in real estate in Dubai or you have any questions at all, why don't you reach out to me and we can talk about your investment goals and see if investing in Dubai is a good fit for you. If you're also considering investing in syndications in the US or investing in real estate generally, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation and then we'll see what we can work out together.
Yes, because I am an extrovert, and I've had years of training on how to speak, on how to communicate.
There you go.
But recently,
go.
I also went and took an improv class. I'm like,
Amazing.
I've never done improv. Let me go do improv. But podcasting is kind of like improv. So I was like, let me see how that would sharpen my skill when I do my podcasting, and I think it made me better.
So what did you learn from the improv classes?
The improv classes reinforced some of the things I knew, but it just made it more like, oh, okay, again.
Okay.
Right. Number one, you go with the flow.
Thank you.
Right. So even though I have for each of my podcasts, I have a theme in mind that I want to cover.
Yeah.
But I'm not stuck by questions like
Beautiful.
these are the 10 questions I'm going to ask. I haven't asked.
Beautiful.
But I have concepts like us. I want us to talk about failure. So that's at the back of my mind. It's still there, like tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go.
You're going with the flow.
Yes. So
Beautiful.
that's gonna let me segue into that flow.
There you go. The flow is showing up.
Yeah. So I personally have failed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest failure I ever experienced in my life was when I got into med school, and I thought I was smart, and I think I am smart. However, if you're smart and you don't do the work, then you're not going to excel. You may be gifted, but gifting and hard work, they go hand in hand. So I got to med school. I was just happy. I was free. I could just do anything I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't put in the work. And I failed my first year of med school.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, I did. And I had to retake that first year all over again. And I still had other times that I still had to retake some exams. But those I knew why. But each time I knew why I failed. Every time in my life. So maybe someone meets me, they're like, oh, I wrote this exam and I failed. I said, why did you fail?
Yeah.
Right? Or I go through any situation in life, I ask myself, because if I don't know why, then it's going to happen again.
Thank you.
So what's your experience with failure?
You kind of hit the nail on the head because failure is just a learning curve, right? And I've read one of the most impactful books that I've read is Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. And it teaches you the principles that failure is just a stepping stone. It's not the end of the road. It's a speed bump. It might slow you down. It might deviate your direction, but it does also give you some level of guidance that maybe that wasn't really what you wanted. And if it truly is what you want, you ain't going to go. You're not going to let go. You're going to persevere.
Fight for it.
So at the end of the day, I feel like the lesson learned is the crucial part of the failure. Because like you just said, the failure will continue to reappear time and again as a lesson for you to learn. Once you've learned it, it will disappear.
Yes.
This is the fundamental part of any failure. You need to learn what the lesson was.
Yes, but there's that shame. That goes
Hallelujah. Yes, this is why. Let's go back to, I did not want to talk about where I failed because I'm like, what shame do I want to bring on this?
Yeah.
And even I remember when I started actually going on stage and hosting this, my family were like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
this is not what we talk about. And I said, yes, I understand, but I need to let go of the fear of that shame haunting me.
The power it has over you.
Thank you.
Because if I've already told you where I failed, then what else is there?
The most important part is when you own your power, no one has power over you. So when you put that failure on the table and you're like, yes, I did fail at that.
Yeah.
And these are the lessons I learned from it. No one can use that against you. You've taken that power and used it for you.
Yes.
So I think that's what enabled me to feel that failure did empower me. Not to say I love the failure, I'm going to keep creating it, because that was one of the contradictions that people didn't understand. They thought, if I fully embrace failures, that means I'm welcoming it into my life. I said, no. Failure is going to happen no matter whether you look for it or you find it.
Yes.
But it's being okay with it takes the fear away, so that and what they say, what you fear will appear. You let go of the resistance.
Yes.
So what you resist will persist. These are all things that are true. They're not just fancy cliche sayings.
They are true.
And the minute that you own, I did fail. I am not a failure.
Yes.
This is another concept, right?
Yeah.
This is where we need to reprogram how we've been taught failure is and what the meaning of failure is. So understanding what level of impact I brought into that creation of the failure, it's a lesson for my future. It's a lesson to understand, okay, I didn't give 100%, so how was it going to succeed? Right. Or, you know what, I wasn't fully aligned to it. I was just doing it for whatever. Right. It's not going to succeed. So adjusting that and realizing, okay, next time I'm going to be 100% aligned and I'm going to give it 100%. If that fails, come and talk to me, because that's never going to fail.
Yeah.
You are aligned. You are giving it 100%. Everything is working for you. You're doing it for all the right reasons. There is no failure that's going to happen. It might not scale to what you want it to be. It could supersede, but it won't fail.
Yes.
Because your understanding along the process, you've hit the checkpoints.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yes.
So I think at the end of the day, if you're able to learn,
then you're the better for it. Because for me, when I failed in med school, it means I had a whole year to take one course.
Yeah.
Because it was just one course I did. I needed a C, but I had a D. It was just like, I think it was a few points that I needed. So it wasn't so much to study. So I had a whole year. I became a voracious reader. I read so much because I had time. All I was doing with my pocket money was buying books. Wow. And my mindset was changing. So it was one of the best things. There was that shame at that point because it was more like, bro, I failed. Yeah, I failed. People whispering behind you. Yeah. Family members are like,
they will.
But if I look back now, I'm not a failure.
You're not. It was just 1 year that you needed to retake something.
Yeah.
And I think the more that we get hung up, and this actually happened in one of the sessions that I did, one of my podcasts with Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. Now, he is another level of... he has been a mentor without him even knowing. That one of my favorite books that, again, shaped the way that I see being an entrepreneur and leadership is What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Now, as the leading executive coach for top CEOs globally, he was on the podcast and literally, I did not expect him to start coaching me, but he literally said, listen, I get the feeling that you're stuck in the past still. You haven't let go of some of these failures. I'm like, what now? I thought I healed everything. He said, you need to forgive yourself.
Yes.
He was giving me one-on-one coaching on a podcast that I did not expect. And I just thought, wow, this is exactly where I am. I was still clinging to the past failures. Even though I had learned the lessons, I hadn't forgiven myself. Yes. That's another lesson.
To forgive yourself, yes.
It's not that I did anything that would harm me, but not letting go of that was harming me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So any of these lessons that we think we've learned, if they show up, don't just think, oh yeah, I've learned it. There is something there for you to pick up.
It's deep.
It's very, that's why I'm saying, for me, it was therapy. Every single episode was therapy.
Yeah.
It did take me down aspects of my own shortcomings and my own misunderstandings to learn what I need to do to take it to the next level, where I need to excel, what aspects of me was I, undervaluing. And this is where I think this massive phenomenon of imposter syndrome has taken so much shape, because people do feel, even if you are great at what you do, you still feel like, do I deserve this?
Yeah.
There's someone better than me.
Yeah.
This is what keeps us from playing in the big game and actually going big for it. You kind of like, I'll just play small. No, you don't need to. And this has been one of my learnings. I've constantly just gone for things which are safe and comfortable and easy. And then the universe has said, no.
You're bigger for that.
Over here.
Yeah.
What you doing over there?
Yeah.
So I've now understood I need to take those big risks. And whatever that might be, I'm going to say yes to it. Even though behind the scenes, I'm like, and I did a recent TED Talk, and I just, for the life of me, don't understand why I was so nervous. Never in my life have I been this nervous to get on stage and talk.
Maybe because it was TEDx.
I don't know. I mean, I maybe because I suddenly thought to myself,
the stakes are so high.
I've always loved it. Like I've been a massive consumer of TED Talks. And to be honest with you, I've never been more nervous in my life. And I just remember getting up there, and before I took that step to get on stage, I just said, God, please, don't let me just fall. Don't let me just stand there and be like, because that's how much nervousness and I had in myself. And when I got there, I just literally took a step and I said, this is your stage. You use me, share whatever it is you want to do. And I literally I kid you not, I do not remember what I said. When I came off and my sister was in there, I said, did I even make sense? She said, yes. I said, did I say that? She goes, yes. I said, did I? She says, look, everything you said, it impacted. And I literally then had people coming and saying to me, because it was within a university as well. And they came and said, look, I didn't realize that this is something that you've gone through. It's what I'm going through. Right. And this is where I realized it wasn't what I thought I had to share. It's what had to come at that moment.
You needed to share.
And it's just, if we see ourselves as a vessel, then we're able to share the message that we are destined to share. And I think
you're giving me goosebumps.
I'm telling you, I'm getting it to myself. These are all learnings that I've understood. Whatever venture you want to start, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a business, whether it's moving to a new country, whatever it is, if you feel like, you know what, I'm scared, that's probably what you need to be doing. And if you feel in whatever power you believe in, whatever religion you are aligned to, or spirituality, whatever it is, there is a bigger and more powerful.
It's bigger than you.
It's way bigger than you, and you are there.
It's not about you.
It is you, but you are one of many, and you're destined to create something
for people.
Yes, because I do believe that we are here to create impact.
Yes,
and if we just follow that, it might lead us to so many different things. Like, I did not look for CNN documentary. I did not look for TEDx talk. I did not look for these. I didn't look for another community. I just put it out there and I said, I want to get back into community work. I want to get back on bigger stages. I want to get back on TV, and boom, 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 they came. I just had to say, okay, get on there, and fear will come.
Of course it
But I think this is where the fear of failure will stop us from succeeding. And I even understood I had a fear of success. That was a big revelation, because a lot of people are like, why would you fear success? I'm like, well, let me tell you why. Because when you hit a level of success, and there is responsibility, you have to keep going. You have to keep evolving.
Can I do better than that?
Thank you.
You're
going to be judged.
just be here.
She was good last year. This year, not so good.
Yeah.
There's that. So I realized it's not just one fear. There is multiple fears. And you need to be okay with this. And I've realized, okay, I've got through these. What's coming up next? Please be kind. Like last year, I honestly feel it wasn't one of those years where it was just me. So many people I spoke to. It was a year where they had to go deep and understand what layers they had to shed.
Yeah.
It was a big transformative year. And I think this year, thank goodness, it's one of those years where it's your next journey, your next chapter.
It's growth.
It's definitely growth. And whatever you want to do with it, you are the director of your own movie. What do you want to do?
Wow. Fari, what a great place. No, I have to ask you one more question.
Go ahead.
It's just so good.
Thank you.
This podcast is called Negotiation Secrets.
Yeah.
So what's your number one negotiation secret?
I would definitely say, don't negotiate with yourself. Have your standards, have your benchmark, have your non-negotiables, and go for what you believe you deserve. But don't compromise with yourself.
Settle for less.
Yeah. Know that what you want to achieve, whatever that might look like, it could change, but don't forego your own standards.
Yeah.
And I've been someone who's undervalued myself. I have said yes to things where I thought, oh, really? I don't want to do this. But yeah, it might put me in the right place. And I realized that never works.
Yeah.
So I don't want to negotiate with my own standards. And I think that will only make me stronger. And if someone doesn't see that being on their path, that's fine. I don't need to be loved and liked by everybody. I just need to like and love myself.
Yes.
And I know this sounds lovely.
And you don't need everybody to get to the next level. No. Sometimes you just need one person.
You do. And this is where I think the misunderstanding in go for the big followers, go for the big numbers. The more we understand psychology and we understand consumer behavior, this is one of my favorite topics within business that I studied. Yeah. I really wanted to get to know the psychology of people. And that got me into a whole different curiosity level of understanding NLP and our mind and all of this. But at the core of it, what I came to realize is we all have certain goals we want to hit, personal, professional, whatever it might be. But I think if we understand that my value, my level is here, if I undervalue that, I cannot be surprised and expect other people to value me more than this. Yeah. So my learning has been know what it is I want to achieve, know what it is I want to create, and allow those people to come to me. Do not chase it.
And it's okay to walk away when people offer you less. It's okay. Yeah. It's that scarcity mindset, like, oh, you know what, I better take this one. I don't know if another one's going to come.
Yeah.
You know, it's
that's scarcity mindset, yes, right? So I think the negotiation, when I sit at the table, I have been afraid to say no, and I have even been afraid to say yes. So taking that leap, I think, will allow me to turn around and say no confidently. Yeah. And if I say yes and there's fear, I do it happily. You know, I break through that level, and it just makes you stand up with pride and with the power that you have within you to create whatever it is you want to do. And maybe greater than what you even imagined.
It's usually greater.
It is. When you get out of your own freaking way, amazing things play out, right? Yeah. This is what happens. And I think negotiation, just do it with the outside, but don't do it within.
I love that. Thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Where can my audience find you?
Pretty much everywhere. I think Instagram and LinkedIn are my easiest platforms. But yeah, you can pretty much find me connected on so many different people's pages as well, because I love connecting.
She does. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So I usually round up my podcast by telling my audience to go do something based on the conversation I had with my audience. I'm struggling on what to tell you to do this week, but for sure, if you're thinking of starting a podcast, there are a few things she talked about, there are a few things you need to do. Number one, know your why. Then number two, have structure, then have flexibility. And in knowing your why, be honest with yourself. If it's money you want to make, if it's influence you want, if it's popularity, there's nothing wrong. Own your truth, because that truth will guide you to the right people. And then something else we talked about was failure. If you've ever failed, I want you to take a step back and ask yourself, what lesson have I learned from this? And sometimes you may think you've learned a lesson, but still deeper, there might be so much more. It's like a bag of gifts. You just keep digging and then you see what's going to come out of it. And then I want you to subscribe and follow. Let's grow a community of people who are negotiating for the life that they want. And I always leave you with this. I strongly believe you have the potential to be great. So go be great. Thank you.
Let's improve your negotiation skill. Join us for our 3-month negotiation bootcamp, where we teach you how to negotiate for salary, for contracts, for deals, or just to negotiate with your toddler. You would leave this bootcamp so much better. We'll give you all the skills to equip you to be a leader when it comes to negotiating. Come join us.